happy Tuesday. Really had to think about it that time. So glad that you're here for today's Express Mind Body class. It's our second Express Mind Body class, encouraging you to just take some time away from your desk, 30 minutes, maybe you just have 5 minutes, whatever it is, to find a little bit of stretch and movement. So we're gonna start in Sukhasana, I think. Or do I have us starting in kneeling? In kneeling. We're gonna start in kneeling today. If kneeling is super uncomfortable for you, I really want you to think about using some props to maybe just try and come into a kneeling position. So maybe instead of actually sitting your glutes back on your heels, you're actually just kneeling. Taking the time to tent your feet towards each other can take off a little bit of tension in the legs. Also really think about using some props to support yourself. So maybe you have a giant bolster you can put between your legs, just something to help you get into these positions. Maybe you have a meditation cushion. Maybe you're even just taking a block and thinking about sitting up with the block between your legs to help you kneel. That's right, my back feels great today. All right. So take your time, make your way to the floor, bribe your pets, grab some water or coffee or tea, whatever makes you feel happy and relaxed. Ooh. Oh, thank you. All right, and I'll see you on the floor, or, well, you'll see me on the floor in 2 minutes when we get started. 2 minutes. Uncle Buck, we just went outside. Here you go. Here's some lemon spray so you can enjoy yourself. I know, I like it too. One more minute. Okay. Great. Let's get our 30 minutes of a relaxing, moving meditation on together. I see my shirt looks horrible tucked into my pants from the back. Great. Ah, my favorite. Okay, so let's come on down to the space that you created for yourself today. And remember, we're starting off in kneeling position. Maybe you need to open your knees a little bit wider. If you're still feeling a lot of pressure, even while sitting up on pillows or props, think about really actually placing a little something, maybe even a thin towel right behind the back of the knee where it bends, and see if that helps as well. All right, so once you've either come into a seated kneeling position, or maybe you're hanging out a little bit more in an upright kneeling position, I want you to think about finding some length through the crown of your head, using your exhale to relax your shoulders away from your ears. Find one spot to focus your eyes in front of you, Or feel free to close your eyes and just come into the moment. We'll spend 1 minute right here just relaxing into our breath, taking each inhale a little bit longer and slower than you had before you came to class, and also working to elongate the length of your exhale. Truly take notice of the quality of your breath and make sure you're getting it all the way down to the bottom of your diaphragm and not just breathing up at the top of your chest. So many things going on at one time while also working towards relaxation. So use this long, slow, deep inhale once you've developed it to just notice how your body is feeling today. And then use your exhale to just exhale out any tension you might have. Maybe even practicing a little bit more of a lion's breath right here, a deep inhale in through your nose. Maybe a loud, audible, silly, open mouth exhale. Just to lion's breath it out. One more opportunity right here. Relax those shoulders from your ears. Find that engagement of your core. Take that deep inhale in through your nose. Fill those lungs all the way to the tippy top. Take a moment with them completely full and then open your mouth wide. Stick your tongue out. Lion's breath it out. It's almost like we're being our best Gene Simmons from Kiss. All right, so next up we're going to do a little bit of ankle stretching. So if you happen to be on a prop, I would recommend moving that prop away. Remember, you can always use your hands as a prop if coming all the way back into kneeling does not work for you. From here, you can even shift the weight a little bit right and left as you just work to lift one knee up and then the other to find some stretches in your ankles. And you might even want to bring your hands down to the floor in front of you for a little bit of support. Just work on pressing the tops of your feet into the floor. If you're sitting up, maybe giving yourself a couple just little twists of the wrist. And if you're not sitting up, take a moment. Lift yourself and give yourself a couple wrist shakes. We're going to come into tabletop. So we can enjoy some cat-cow right here. Spread those fingers really wide like starfish. Press the palms of your hands into the floor and start to once again explore what feels good for your body today. So maybe you're going for some traditional cat-cow, tucking your chin towards your chest, looking towards your knees, maybe looking towards your chest and your belly button to really get your whole spine through the neck engaged. And then as you change your breath, keeping those arms engaged, hands, palms pressed into the floor, the arms are straight, elbows have a gentle lock to them, and you pull the chest forward towards your biceps and look up towards the ceiling. Maybe you want to give yourself a little bit more love towards the sides of the body. So moving those hips in some gentle circles. Just take this time to really explore what feels good for you today. Maybe you find you actually need to sit up and do a little bit more warm up with your wrists. Just trying to give us a couple warm up movements today before we get into a nice little mini flow doing sun salutation A. All right, so 3 more breaths of cat-cow. And after you have finished up your 3rd breath, we're going to send our hips back towards our heels and take some time in a child's pose. You can bring your toes together and open your knees as wide as you want to, or maybe you choose to keep your legs together, a little extra stimulation of your belly. You can walk your fingers as far forward as feels good for you, but use that exhale to return your glutes towards your heels to send the stretch all the way down your back. Ooh, feels so good. Remember, if this is too much, you can always generously bend your elbows. You can even place your head on a prop on the floor if it feels far away, or send your hands back towards your feet for a little bit more of a fetal child's pose. I'm going to extend those hands out in front of me to find that little stretch of my shoulders and use my breath. Inhale to find a little extra lift and length in my spine, and exhale to continue to work to stretch the glutes towards the heels. Inhale is for expansion, both of the rib cage and of the spine for length, and exhale, tailbone back towards those heels. Take one more breath right here. And on your exhale, let's pull ourselves up into tabletop once again. Shift your legs over towards one side. Take your time as you kick your heels forward, and we'll come into staff pose. So as I come into staff pose, it's natural for me to already start to walk those glutes back. But if this is a new practice to you, you might have found that you sat down and your shoulders were a little bit behind your hips, and I want you to bring that forward. Bring it forward without rounding yourself forward, with some length, and it helps to just walk one glute back at a time. If that sounds or feels really weird, maybe even reaching back with your hand to physically move some space to create a little bit more of a forward hinge here. If your legs are super tight, take a slight bend of your knees right here. We'll try to avoid getting up onto a prop just for right now if you can, but if it's still really uncomfortable, know that if you sit yourself up a little bit higher, it can be a little bit more relaxing on the back of your legs. All right, if you do have those legs all the way stretched out, or even if you have those heels on the floor, can you still work to flex your toes back towards your face, get your calves involved? What's happening with that upper body? Notice if you came back to a big rounding position, maybe even bringing your fingertips close by the back of your knees, just to help encourage you to bring your belly towards your thighs for that forward lean. Squeeze those shoulders towards each other. Take 2 more breaths here in staff pose. All right, and then feel free to shake those shoulders out just a little bit. Maybe allow your head to round down. Let's give ourselves some nice little teeny spine twists. So really work to find some length through your spine. Placing the hand behind you that you're twisting towards can help you find that extra length and lift of your chest as well. All right, and next up we're going to come into a cross-legged forward fold. So just go ahead, cross your legs. Maybe you're coming just into a Sukhasana, into an easy pose where they're a little further away. Maybe you're coming into a slightly more advanced if it feels good for you. Gosh, I know there's a name for when you bring your legs in a little bit closer, but it's slipping my mind right now. So we'll still say that this is just another version of easy pose. All right, so once again, we're finding that hinge forward from the hips of the belly coming closer towards the thighs, that nice length of your back, and you can keep your hands down on the floor here. If your back is still feeling good, option to walk your hands forward, and with your next inhale, find some length, and on your exhale, you can start to round down towards the floor. I want you to make sure that you didn't walk your hands so far forward that you started to feel those glutes lift up off the floor. If you did, walk your hands back a little bit more. Focus on really grounding through those sit bones of like sending an imaginary tent stake from the tippy tail of your spine towards the floor. From here, we're just going to walk our hands over to one side. Thanks for the peanut, Fred. And then using your breath, walk your hands over to the opposite side. Just being a little active in our stretching to begin with. Once again, move slowly with your intention. Inhale all the way to the opposite side. Exhale as you get there. Next inhale, walk yourself over. Once more, exhale as you get there. Last time through, take the full length of your breath. So the slower your inhale, the slower it is that you move towards the opposite side. As you get there, find that length, shoulders away from ears, big exhale. And then once again, walk yourself back to center and lift yourself up. From here, we're going to come into Cobbler's pose. So just opening your feet out a little bit, bringing the soles of your heels towards each other. Once again, I'm going to take the action of gently walking those glutes back to help me find a forward fold. You're open to be as tight of a cobbler as you want to be. So maybe you've got that really deep open hips and you can bring your heels really close towards the center line of your body. Holding on to your feet with your fingers by your pinky toes can make it a little bit easier to apply some pressure to work to press the outside of your knees towards the floor. Or maybe you take that forward hinge, but try to take that forward hinge first with that flat back, and then exhale into the rounding. And once again, make sure that you're not lifting your tailbone off the floor. So if you need to, you can always walk those feet out much further. And maybe your hands aren't holding onto your feet, and you're just focusing on a little bit of a forward lean. And if your knees are coming all the way up towards your ears or your shoulders, that's okay too. Just use your exhale. Imagine creating a little bit of space and a little extra movement of just getting the backs of those knees to the floor. And with time, they will get there. Let's take 2 more breaths. Great. Next, we're going to come into half dragonfly or head to knee pose. So go ahead. I'll do the opposite. Kick your right leg out and fold your left leg in. We're going to inhale the arms up overhead and turn over to the right side. Now, if you know it's easy for you to just pull your belly in and round down while bringing your forehead to your knee to grab hold of your foot, then you can simply round yourself down and take that hold. But we're really looking for forehead and knee compression. So if that sounded a little too challenging for you, generously bend your knee and then fold forward, place your forehead on your knee. Can you also grab hold of your foot? It actually becomes easier to grab hold of your foot as you kick your foot out a little bit, or at least I think. So maybe you're just reaching in the direction of your foot. As you have your forehead on your knee though, experiment with how far you can start to kick your heel forward. You'll get a little choking of your throat in this posture. On your next exhale, I want you to drop that inside shoulder and inside elbow down towards the floor so that you're making a delicious sandwich with your forearms around your calf and shin. Stretch through your heel, flex your toes to your face. Can you even engage your quad to lift that heel up off the floor? Keep your forehead on your knee. Take 1 more deep inhale. And on your exhale, slowly, gently lift yourself up. Bring those arms up overhead. Find some nice length. Relax your shoulders from your ears. And then switch your legs. So we're using our core just a little bit to get that switch of the legs. Might not have even noticed it, but it's happening. All right, so we're going to come and twist towards the other side. Same thing's going to happen again. So if it's easy for you to fold down and interlace those fingers, all 10 fingers behind the back of the foot, and bring your forehead to your knee, great. But if that sounded really hard or you tried and you couldn't do it, take that generous bend of your knee. Once again, work to bring your forehead to your knee and then reach for your foot. And remember, as you start to kick this heel forward, it makes it a little bit easier to, at least for me, to grab hold of that foot to get your forehead actually touching on your knee. And then drop that inside shoulder and elbow down, the one that's closer towards the sole of your foot. So you can once again work to make a sandwich of your forearms around your shin, and one side might be easier than the other. Can you once again engage your quad, flex your toes to your face, lift that heel up off the floor, take 1 more deep inhale, and on your exhale, gently lift yourself up. Awesome. Relax your arms down towards your side. We're going to fold both of our legs in, lift ourselves up onto our knees, and next we're going to come into a really, oh, I lied. Okay, fold yourself up. Gonna kick those legs out in front of you. Next up, we're going to go into east stretch. So, placing your hands down on the floor behind you, pressing into your hands palms, lifting your chest up with your fingers pointing towards your glutes. Maybe you're just hanging out right here and you need to keep your glutes on the floor and really just work to open and lift that chest. If you're ready for a little bit more, take a deep inhale, press into your heels, lift yourself up, and you can even allow your head to fall towards the back of the room. Can you get the soles of your feet down on the floor? Take one more big inhale. And on your exhale, gently lower yourself down. Inhale those arms all the way up towards the ceiling. Exhale, relax them down. We find ourselves again for a moment in staff pose. Remember, you can take that hinge forward. You can slightly tent or bend the knees here to relieve any pressure on the hamstrings. We're going to come into another little back bend. Next up is hero pose before we come into our sun salutation. So fold your legs in. Let's come back into a kneeling position, but this time I want you to open your knees a little bit wider and find your heels stretching directly back behind you. So you can open your knees a little bit wider, but we're not trying to open them as wide as we would for, say, child's pose. And you want to make sure that your feet are pointing directly behind you as you work to sit yourself down, to sit your glutes between your heels. So I'm just going to turn backwards so you can see my horrible tuck job of my tank top. Great, but mostly what I want you to be focusing on is what's happening with the feet. So it's okay if the toes turn in a little bit and your heels come towards the outside of your glutes, but ideally you're working on having your feet directly behind you. One thing you definitely don't want to do, it applies too much pressure, is coming in with the arch of your foot towards the floor. So ideally, heels are directly behind you, pointing towards the wall behind you, and allow that to be your limitation. However, if there's a slight turn in, that's okay. But better to just take your time and to practice coming into this really deep stretch. This applies a lot of stretch towards the knee, from the shin. I'm feeling it in the calves. If it feels like too much, hang out here with your hands on the floor. If you're ready to go all the way, bring your hands to your feet. Lower yourself down one elbow at a time. Bring the top of your head to the mat, then the back of your head down. But make sure that those knees didn't lift all the way up off of the floor. Maybe there's a little bit of space of your knees lifting up off of the floor just because you have some leg meat, but we're not going for the big ankle opening stretch like we did at the beginning of class. All right, if you went all the way down, you're gonna bring your hands back to your heels. Use your elbows one at a time to lift yourself up. Awesome, and from here we're going to come into sun salutation A. So maybe you would like to lift those feet up, tap your toes out just a little bit, get that blood flowing back towards your ankles, because we did cut off the circulation right there. That hero pose is really challenging for runners, especially who have super tight ankles. All right, let's come into sun salutation A. So we're going to get started right here in kneeling, just like we began class. And bring your hands into Namaskar at heart center. All right, take a couple moments, just close your eyes, come back to your breath. We're going to take 3 breaths right here. On your next inhale, I want you to lift yourself up, press into your knees, hips gently come forward, stretch your arms up overhead, find a little bit of a look back, and on your exhale, we're going to rain ourselves down, so pull your belly in to come into a little combo of like a child's pose / puppy pose. So your hips are still gently lifted. On your next inhale, pull yourself up and forward into cat. Your hands can be a little further forward than usual. And then exhale as you tuck your toes under, send your hips up towards the ceiling, belly can come towards knees for down dog. Inhale, come back into that cat pose. So bring your knees back towards the floor, untuck your toes, exhale, send your hips back towards your heels, find yourself in child's pose. Inhale, pull your belly in, press your shins into the floor, lift yourself up, back into a modified mountain / back bend, and then exhale, sit your hips back down on your heels, and we are where we began. Let's take 2 more breaths right here. Just allow this to sink in. We're gonna run through the sun salutation 4 more times. If this is brand new to you, I suggest joining me for 1 or 2 more times, and then you can always come back to kneeling position or hang out in child's pose, and then we can finish with the breathing exercise together. All right, so once again, find that focus in front of you, relax your shoulders from your ears, pull your belly in, take that extra rounding out of your back, find some relaxation here. Can you truly sit your glutes on top of your heels? With that forward focus, we're going to inhale, stretch those arms up towards the ceiling, squeeze your glutes, hips come forward, stretch up, look back, and then exhale, belly tight. Take the full length of your breath to find yourself in this extended child's pose. Inhale, hands can draw in gently to support yourself as you come into up dog. Tuck your toes under. Exhale, up dog I meant, cat. Exhale as you come into down dog. Inhale, slowly, gently, with intention, come back into cat. Untuck your toes. Exhale, send hips towards your heels. Really find that stretch through your whole back in child's pose. Inhale, press into your shins, pull your belly in to help support. Lift yourself up, look up and back, and then inhale, hips right back towards your heels. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, cat. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, cat. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, kneeling, backward bend. And exhale, back to kneeling. Inhale, up. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, cat. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, cat. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale to your kneeling back bend or arch, or just look up towards the ceiling. Exhale, back into kneeling. 1 more time through. Inhale, up. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale to cat. Exhale to down dog. Inhale to cat. Untuck your toes. Exhale to extended child's pose. Last time, inhale, lift yourself up into your kneeling back bends. Press those hips forward, pull your belly in. And exhale. Once again, sit down and kneeling. Really bring your hands down to heart center. Allow those elbows to hang heavy down towards the floor. Take a moment right here in your stillness. Back to the slow, deep breath, noticing your heart rate, maybe noticing the circulation through your body. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left together. And we're going to try a different breathing exercise. So for this next breathing exercise, you can come into any sort of seated position that feels comfortable for you. Maybe you'd like to extend those legs out nice and wide. I'm gonna take a generous bend of my knees so that I can rest my hands on my knees, and we're gonna use our hands to touch our face. So if you need to wash your hands off quickly, if that's a thing, I'll give you a second to wash or sanitize your hands if you didn't feel like your space is clean. And if it feels really weird for you to take this bent leg position, because we're gonna cover our ears with our hands and cover our eyes with our hands as well, then feel free to just be right here. Find what feels good for you. I'm actually not gonna do that kneeling, that bent knee position, because that puts a lot of stress on my back, which is finally feeling good. So, all right, so next we're going to do a breathing exercise called Hummingbird Breath. I'm gonna take my glasses off for this one. So the goal is to go for just 10 breaths right here. I want you to really focus on creating like an ohm while you're breathing. So as we're taking this breath, you're going to create a humming sound within your body. And feel free to change around the tone of your humming sound, because you're working to find the internal tone. And I know it sounds silly, but that's going to be soothing for you. The same way that listening to music, that sometimes you might hear a musical note and that like really has meaning or resonates within you. So we're creating that same musical note through an ohm by pressing the tongue up to the roof of the mouth. This is almost the same way we do for Ujjayi breathing. And yeah, just experiment a little bit. All right, so we're gonna take our thumbs and use your thumb to press that little flap into your ear to help close off your hearing, so you already get a little bit of that wah, wah, Charlie Brown sound in your ears. And then you're just gonna cover your eyes with your hands. So you're truly just focusing on your breath. Keep your sit bones ground to the floor, and then take these next 10 breaths, make some beautiful buzzing sounds for yourself. And use that exhale to find that hum. Really focus on the length of your breath. And keep experimenting with the pitch of the hum that you're making. Do you notice that you feel the different frequencies of sound in different parts of your body? Just take a couple more breaths, whichever felt best for you. Make this last breath as slow, as long, as deep as possible. And after you finish your exhale, simply relax your hands down into your lap. Come back to a nice, quiet breath. Feel free to keep your eyes closed. In fact, I encourage it. Take the time to notice if you still can enjoy the buzzing throughout your body that you just created with your breath. awesome. You're welcome to sit here in this Savasana for as long as continues to honor you. Just continuing to focus on your slow breath, on yourself. Just feeling the buzzing throughout your body that you created with your breath and your movement today in both our asana and our pranayama. As always, if you have any questions or concerns about anything that we did or I said, I hope you will reach out. Till I see you again, please continue to think good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, and do good deeds, and nourish yourself from the inside out. If you'd like to, you can bring your thumb up to your drishti, your third eye. Lift your beautiful faces, your arms and elbows up towards the ceiling once again, as if you're lifting yourself up to the sun. And know that the light within me honors and sees the light within you. Thank you so much for coming today. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.